It's funny how the nights that change your life forever rarely give you a warning. No ominous music, no gut feeling, no flashing sign saying, hey, your world's about to fall apart. Sometimes it starts with a text from your wife reminding you not to be late. Sometimes it starts with a rooftop party. It wasn't just a party, it was a gala. One of those glittering, high-end, dress code enforced, smile for the camera kind of events. Brooks' company, a rising tech firm trying hard to seem cooler than it actually was, rented out the rooftop of one of Savannah's most expensive hotels. String lights. A live jazz trio. Open bar with bartenders who knew how to light citrus peels on fire. The kind of event meant to impress investors and make middle management feel like royalty for a night. I was late. Some client meeting had dragged past 6 and traffic was a mess getting downtown. I didn't even bother changing out of my slightly rumpled shirt and tie. I figured Brooke would be happy I showed up at all. We'd been off lately. You know how it is, little things, quiet arguments, silences that last longer than they should. Still, I thought showing up mattered. As soon as I stepped out of the elevator, I knew I was walking into something strange. It wasn't the music or the view, those were impressive. It was the vibe. Everyone was mingling, laughing too loud, sipping cocktails with names I couldn't pronounce. I scanned the crowd for Brooke and spotted her near the bar. She was in a sleek black dress I'd never seen before, hugging curves I hadn't touched in weeks. Her hair pinned up, smile wide, surrounded by a circle of coworkers who all seemed to orbit her like she was the sun. But the way she looked at them and not at me, that's what got me. She was animated, bright. She laughed with her whole body. When she finally saw me, there was a flicker in her expression, something that wasn't quite surprise but definitely wasn't joy. Like she hadn't expected me to come. She gave me that too wide smile, the one she used for people she didn't actually like, and waved me over with a champagne flute still half full. I walked up, trying to ignore the strange knot tightening in my chest. Hey, I said, leaning in to kiss her cheek. She let me, but her body didn't move toward mine. She stayed planted. Solid. Oh, you made it, she said, like I was a last-minute guest, not her husband of 4 years. Yeah, I replied, forcing a grin. Wouldn't miss it. That's when he said it. A man I didn't recognize, tall, smug, probably one of her senior managers, raised his glass slightly and smirked. Well, after last night, I wouldn't let her out of my sight if I were you. And just like that, the entire group burst into laughter. Not nervous laughter. Not polite laughter. The kind of laughter that follows an inside joke. Everyone looked around at each other, everyone except Brooke. Her smile faltered for the briefest second. Then she snapped into the smooth, calculated calm, looped her arm around mine, and turned toward the guy. What are you talking about, Grayson? We were just discussing the project. You were pretty drunk. There it was. The spin. Delivered with just enough cheer to smooth over the awkwardness. A few chuckled, someone fake coughed, and just like that, the topic shifted. But not for me. My brain froze on 5 words. After last night. Not after the briefing. Not after the dinner. Not after the presentation. No, it was last night, full stop. I didn't ask questions. Didn't say anything. I just stood there, anchored in place, smiling like I was still part of the group even though every part of me had gone ice cold. She glanced at me then. Just for a second. She saw it in my eyes, the change. And that's when she pulled closer to me, clinging to my arm like it was for show. It was like watching someone close a curtain over a crime scene. Smile. Laugh. Act like nothing happened. Keep the performance going. And I played my role too. The rest of the night blurred. We made small talk with a couple from her department. She introduced me to someone from marketing like I was an out-of-town cousin, not her husband. She barely touched her drink, but she never stopped touching me, holding my hand, brushing against me, linking her arm with mine every time we moved. Like physical proximity could erase what Grayson said. But I couldn't stop replaying it. After last night. What happened last night? Where was she? Why hadn't I thought to ask? She told me she was working late. That a client dinner ran long. That she was exhausted when she got in and went straight to bed. Was Grayson lying? Was he joking? Or was that his drunk mouth telling the truth before anyone could stop it? I tried to read her face. Tried to catch her in a nervous tick, a guilty glance, anything. But Brooke had a perfect poker face when she needed it. She knew how to perform. She always had. By the end of the night, I was exhausted emotionally more than physically. The weight of suspicion is like dragging an anchor around your neck. We didn't talk much on the way to the car. Just the usual small talk. Wasn't that venue amazing? That one appetizer was weird, right? Nothing real. Just words to fill the silence. We got in the car. She sat with her arms crossed. I drove. The road was quiet except for the occasional whoosh of other cars passing by. Finally, I said it. Quiet. Careful. What did Grayson mean by after last night? She didn't look at me. Just stared out the passenger window, fingers tapping her thigh. Then she turned and said, and I remember this exactly. If you're gonna start this paranoid crap again, Trevor, just get out. Flat. Cold. Defensive. Like I was the one who'd embarrassed her. I didn't respond. I didn't pull over. I didn't yell. I just drove. Because part of me still wanted to believe her. Or at least, needed to. But something inside me cracked that night. I didn't know it yet, but that moment, that stupid, champagne-soaked rooftop party, was the beginning of the end. Not of our marriage. That was already dying. It was the end of my illusion. That I knew who she was. That we were okay. That love was enough to cover everything. I stared out at the dark highway, the lights blurring past like ghosts, and I realized something. It wasn't just what she said, it was how easy it was for her to say it. The mind's a cruel thing when it starts digging. It doesn't ask for your permission, it just rewinds, replays, freezes, zooms in. That night after the gala, I lay in bed next to Brooke, staring at the ceiling like it might give me answers. She was asleep, or at least pretending to be. Her breathing was steady, back turned, body curled toward the edge of the mattress. That part felt familiar. Too familiar. And in the dark, with the world silent except for the hum of the ceiling fan, the reel started playing. The missed dinners. The weekend retreats. The new password on her laptop. The face-down phone policy, something she'd never done before. The way she'd stopped saying, I love you first. The change wasn't instant. That's what messed with me the most. It crept in over time like a leak in the attic. You don't notice it until the ceiling caves in. 6 months ago, she was still Brooke. Not perfect, but real. Laughing at dumb sitcoms, sending me memes at work, stealing the covers at 2 a.m. Then she changed. Subtly, but enough. She started wearing new perfume. Floral, heavier than usual. It lingered in the hall after she walked past. She started working late. A lot. I used to surprise her with takeout at the office. She'd smile, roll her eyes, and say I was too sweet. Then one day she asked me to stop. I just need focus time. You showing up throws off my flow. That stung more than I let on. So I stopped. I stopped asking questions. I stopped checking in. I told myself it was just stress. Just the next phase in a long relationship. But it wasn't. She changed her phone lock code. When I asked why, she said it was for security, her company was cracking down on data leaks. I believed it. Or I wanted to. Then she changed her email password. Her laptop login. Even her Spotify. Who changes their Spotify password? But every time I brought up the changes gently, carefully, she'd snap. Why don't you trust me? Are you spying on me now? God, Trevor, it's like you want there to be something wrong. She started taking solo trips. Weekend getaways just to unwind. A cabin in Asheville. A spa retreat in Charleston. Sometimes with friends. Sometimes not. And every time she came back, she was colder. Sharper around the edges. Like she'd been reminded there was a version of herself that didn't include me. There were moments, little, stupid ones, that stuck with me. Like the morning I made her coffee just the way she likes it, black, 2 sugars, splash of almond milk. I set it by her keys before she woke up. She walked into the kitchen, saw the cup, and just stared at it. No smile. No thanks. Then she pushed it aside and poured herself another one. Straight black. No sugar. I didn't say anything. Just nodded, went upstairs, and closed the door. We were turning into strangers who shared a mailbox. But nothing stuck with me more than the message. It was about 2 months before the party. She was on one of her solo trips. This one to Tybee Island, some beach house Airbnb she found. She said she needed space to reset. I said okay. That's what you do when you love someone. You give them space even when it's the last thing you want. I was making dinner, something simple, pasta and garlic bread, when my phone buzzed. Voice message from Brooke. I remember smiling when I saw her name. It felt spontaneous, like maybe she missed me. I pressed play. It started mid-sentence. Just, yeah, I know, I shouldn't have said that, but he's not stupid. He picks up on things. I can't keep. Then rustling. Muffled voices. A laugh, not hers. Then, **T. If he hears this, I'm screwed. Click. Message ended. I stood there holding the phone like it had just turned into a brick of C4. I didn't replay it. I didn't save it. I deleted it. Why? Couldn't tell you. Maybe because I didn't want to believe it. Maybe because hearing it again would make it real. But the sound of her voice, the panic in it, that part never left. It haunted the silence between us every night. It changed the air in the house. The thing is, once that seed is planted, once the possibility of betrayal creeps in, it infects everything. A text notification makes your stomach drop. A smile feels rehearsed. Every "I love you" sounds like an exit strategy. Even little things start to feel wrong. The way she'd say, "I need to go for a drive" instead of "I'll be back soon." The way she'd look over her shoulder walking to the car, like checking if she was being watched. One time, I picked up her coat off the back of a chair, and a small pink hotel keycard slipped from the pocket. No logo, just a magnetic stripe. She said it was from a work conference. They forgot to collect it at checkout. Maybe, maybe not. I started to keep a list. Not a literal one, just mental notes. A running tally of off moments. Like when she started locking the bathroom door, even during a shower. Or when she stopped wearing her wedding ring, claiming it felt tight lately. Or when I found her sitting in the driveway, engine off, music playing, just staring ahead with this blank, disconnected look. I asked her once, during one of the few dinners we actually sat down for together, if she still saw a future with me. She didn't answer right away, just sipped her wine and said, "I think we both need to grow a little. Separately." Separately. That word didn't feel like distance. Felt like a sentence. I still slept beside her most nights. Still cooked dinner when I had the energy. Still folded her laundry because that's what I'd always done. But it felt like trying to keep a house warm with all the windows open. Something was dying. And I think she wanted it to. I think deep down I already knew. I knew before the message. Before the late nights. Before the tension started to calcify into silence. But we don't always face what we know, not right away. We rewrite it, soften it, dress it up in hope. But there's always a moment where the truth forces your eyes open. Mine came on a random Thursday night. Brooke told me she was going to Jacksonville. Girls' night, she said. Samantha's birthday. She said it like it was routine, like I'd be crazy to question it. She even showed me a blurry group text thread as she grabbed her purse. All pastel balloons and inside jokes I wasn't part of. I kissed her on the cheek. She barely noticed. "Love you," I said, automatic. "Aha," she replied, already halfway out the door. That should have been the final red flag, right? But even then, I told myself, maybe she was just tired, stressed. She always came back. But this time, something felt different. The hours dragged. I didn't try to distract myself. I didn't see the point. I sat on the couch, lights low, mind running endless scenarios. I told myself not to check the clock again, but I did every 15 minutes. It was a little after 11 p.m. when my phone buzzed. Unknown number. No text preview. Just the notification. I hesitated, that gut-deep pause when you already sense what's on the other side. I tapped. The message contained a single photo. No words. No explanation. Just one frozen moment. Brooke, at a bar, sitting on Grayson's lap. His hands wrapped around her waist. Her hand on his shoulder. Her head tilted back. Laughing. Their faces close. Too close. And beneath the dim amber lights, one detail stabbed harder than anything else. Her wedding ring. Not on her finger. Hanging around her neck. On a thin gold chain. Like a charm. Like a relic of some other life. I didn't move for a full minute. My fingers locked around the phone. My jaw clenched so hard it hurt. I wanted to scream. I wanted to call her, demand an explanation, threaten every name in her contacts. But instead, I just stared at the screen. This wasn't suspicion anymore. It was confirmation. Not theory. Not intuition. Proof. And not the kind that makes you angry right away, it makes you hollow. Like someone just scooped out your insides and left the shell behind. I didn't call her. Didn't text. Didn't send the photo back with a question mark. I just sat there and waited. Around 6:15 a.m., the front door creaked open. I was still awake, still sitting in the same spot. Coffee cold, air heavy. She walked in slowly, like she didn't know what version of me was waiting. Her dress, the same one from the photo, was wrinkled, damp at the hem. Her hair was messy. Mascara smudged under her eyes. She looked like she hadn't slept. But not because she couldn't. Because she hadn't planned to. She didn't look surprised to see me awake. Just cornered. She stood at the door, eyes glassy, shoulders shaking. I just needed to escape, she said softly, barely above a whisper. She didn't wait for a response. Just kept going. I needed one night. Just one night to feel like me again. I'm tired of being your wife. And then, without warning, she crossed the room and hugged me. Tight. Like she was clinging to a memory of who we used to be. Like that hug was supposed to fix everything she shattered. But I didn't move. Didn't hug her back. Because in that moment I realized something that hit harder than the photo ever could. She didn't make a mistake. She made a choice. It wasn't some heat of the moment lapse in judgment. It wasn't one drink too many and an accidental kiss. It was deliberate. Coordinated. Dressed up. Laughed through. And she'd done it without hesitation. That night she took off her ring. She wore it like an accessory instead of a vow. She sat on another man's lap not because she stumbled into it but because she wanted to. Because she didn't care what it meant for us. Or maybe she did. And just didn't care enough. There's a point where betrayal stops being about what they did and becomes about what it revealed. That was the moment I saw her clearly. Not as my wife. But as someone who outgrew the life we built and instead of telling me torched it quietly. I didn't raise my voice. Didn't call her names. Didn't ask who else knew or how long it had been going on. I just said nothing. Because sometimes silence is the loudest thing you can give someone. And as she stood there, still trying to make the moment feel less devastating than it was, I looked at her, really looked at her, and I knew. She wanted out. And part of me, the part she hadn't already led, was ready to let her go. There's a kind of silence that comes after impact, not peaceful, not calming. It's the kind that rings in your ears. Like standing too close to an explosion and feeling the air get out of your lungs. That's what it felt like when she walked away that morning, her footsteps echoing through the hallway like punctuation to everything she didn't say. No apology. No real explanation. Just those 8 words. I'm tired of being your wife. It was the kind of line that sticks to your ribs. I didn't chase her. I didn't ask where she went next. I just sat on the edge of the bed, hands limp between my knees, trying to piece together what the hell had just happened. But there was no puzzle to solve anymore. The picture was clear. The night before, I tried to lie to myself. Maybe it was a misunderstanding. Maybe the photo wasn't what it looked like. Maybe it was some elaborate prank. Anything to avoid facing the fact that my wife, my partner, my person had made a home in someone else's arms. But now I didn't have the energy to lie anymore. So I stood up, grabbed my keys, and left. I didn't know where I was going. I didn't pack a bag. I didn't leave a note. I just drove. I kept the windows down, let the morning air sting my face, let the noise of the world drown out the noise in my head. I don't remember most of the turns I took. At one point, I passed the exit to my old college. Then a diner we used to eat at. Then a lake I didn't even realize I remembered. But eventually, my car rolled to a stop at this old boat dock just outside of town, a place we hadn't been to in years. It used to be our spot back when we were still dating. We'd come here with sandwiches and cheap wine, barefoot on the sand, pretending we had the whole world figured out. Funny how nostalgia has sharp teeth. I sat down at the edge of the dock, the wood creaking under me. Water lapped gently beneath my feet. I looked out at the endless gray sky and felt empty. Not broken. Not angry. Just hollow. Then, out of nowhere, my phone buzzed. Unknown number. I stared at the screen for a second, debating whether to ignore it. Curiosity got the better of me. I answered. The voice on the other end was male. Young. Smug. Yo, Trevor, thanks for letting her go. She's out of this world. Then click. Dial tone. I didn't yell. Didn't throw the phone into the lake, even though I wanted to. I just stared at it, blinking, heartbeat like a slow drum in my ears. That call? That call changed something in me. It wasn't just the insult. It wasn't just the fact that some guy, probably Grayson or one of his bottom-feeding friends, had the audacity to taunt me like I was the punchline to their inside joke. It was the intent. She gave him my number. She gave him my number. So he could rub it in my face. That wasn't a slip-up. That wasn't a drunken mistake or a misunderstanding. That was calculated. Cold. Meant to sting. And it did. But not in the way she probably imagined. Because in that moment, something inside me shifted. The grief evaporated. The confusion settled. And what filled the space left behind wasn't rage, not exactly. It was steel. A kind of clarity I hadn't felt in months. Brooke hadn't just cheated on me. She enjoyed it. She didn't just sneak around, she turned it into a joke, a story to laugh about over drinks, a badge of freedom. I had spent weeks, months, walking on eggshells, doubting myself, thinking I was too paranoid, too controlling, too needy. But now? Now I saw it for what it was. This wasn't betrayal. This was character. She could have told me she was unhappy. She could have said she needed space. Hell, she could have asked for a separation like an adult. But instead, she chose a demolition. A slow, methodical one. Like tearing down a house one wall at a time while the person inside was still asleep. And now that it was in ruins, she expected me to be grateful she left a few windows intact. No, not this time. As I sat there on that dock, feet dangling above water that reflected nothing but gray, I realized something else. I wasn't the victim anymore. I was the one who survived. And the next step wasn't going to be mourning. It was going to be action. When I got back home that evening, the sun was low and golden, casting shadows across the living room like long arms reaching for something that wasn't there anymore. The house was quiet, too quiet. Still. Lifeless. Like it had been holding its breath while I was gone. She wasn't there. Her car wasn't in the driveway. But her perfume still hung in the air, that heavy floral scent she'd started wearing recently. It smelled expensive, sharp, too sweet. It never used to bother me. Now it burned my lungs. I stood in the doorway for a while, keys still in my hand, trying to feel something. Sadness. Anger. Fear. Anything. But all I felt was purpose. I dropped the keys on the counter, walked upstairs, and powered up my laptop. I didn't know what I was looking for, not exactly, but I knew I'd find something. I logged into our shared bank account. And that's when the second blow landed. She'd been planning this. Not for a few days. Not a week. For months. For $100 here. $700 there. A hotel in Atlanta. A spa in Tampa. Dinner at restaurants I'd never heard of. Bars with craft cocktails and tabs that went into triple digits. All labeled with generic tags, business, work, wellness. She didn't clean out the account. That would have been obvious. She bled it slow enough that I wouldn't notice unless I was really watching. But I was watching now. And suddenly everything made sense, the solo trips, the cold shoulder, the lectures about trust. She wasn't hiding guilt. She was hiding blueprints. I stared at the screen, jaw tight, hands frozen on the keyboard. And then, without hesitation, I started moving. First, I transferred the remaining balance to an account I'd opened a year ago, back when she told me I was being paranoid and needed to relax. It was supposed to be a just-in-case. Something I never thought I'd touch. Now it was survival. Next, I changed every password I could think of: bank, email, cloud storage, even our damn Amazon Prime. Then I froze the cards. Not just the joint ones, hers, too. Every card I was paying for. Every line with my name on it. I shut off her phone. The one I paid for. Her lifeline to the world gone. I moved methodically, like a surgeon. Every click of the mouse was a stitch being undone. Then I did something I never thought I'd have to do. I called Bruce Hendricks. My mentor's friend. Divorce attorney. Big name in town. Old school. Wore suspenders unironically. Known for turning messy separations into scorched earth. I'd met him once at a retirement party. He shook my hand and said, "Hope you never need me." Now I did. He answered on the second ring. "Trevor. Long time. I need to file. Immediately." There was a pause. Then, "Sit tight. I'll clear my schedule for tomorrow. You free at 10 a.m.? I'll be there." "What's the situation?" I hesitated, then told him everything. The affair. The text. The call from her lover. The financial trail. The shift in her behavior. The ring on a chain. When I finished, there was a long silence on the line. Then a soft chuckle. "You're not just a heartbroken husband," Bruce said. "You're a plaintiff with a full stack of evidence. Photos, voice messages, financial records, infidelity, manipulation. This isn't just a divorce, this is a slam dunk." I didn't smile. Didn't even blink. I just said, "Start." He laughed again, not cruel, but impressed. "You sure?" I looked around the room at the life she'd dismantled in slow motion. The photos on the wall. The wedding album on the shelf. The note she once left in my lunchbox that read, "You make the hard days soft." I thought about the man who called me to brag. About the bar. The lap. The ring. And I said it again, clear as glass. "Start." I hung up. Closed the laptop. And for the first time in months, I exhaled without shaking. It wasn't over. But now it was my turn. The next phase wouldn't be about her anymore. It would be about me. About reclaiming the parts of myself she'd tried to rewrite. The version of me she buried under lies and gaslighting and convenient half-truths. She wanted to play games? I just flipped the board. The fallout came fast. By noon the next day, Brooke started calling. First it was the soft voice, the one she used when she wanted something. "Trevor, can we just talk? You don't understand what I've been going through. I was lost." Then, a few hours later, it turned bitter. "You had no right to freeze my cards. This is financial abuse, Trevor." And finally, she turned nuclear. She messaged my mom, my friends, even an old coworker I hadn't seen in years. He mitigated me. He isolated me from people. I was afraid of him, but what she didn't realize, or maybe forgot, was that I'd already prepared the file. *TS, bank records, the voicemail, the photo, even Grayson's little joke at the party, which I'd managed to get a recording of from someone else who thought it was weird but funny. I gave it all to Bruce. By that evening, her world had started to collapse. Her company placed her under internal review. One of her so-called girls' trip friends messaged me, apologizing. I didn't know what she was doing. I never would have covered for her if I had. Even her own mother called me, choked up, embarrassed. "I'm so sorry for what she did to you. She was raised better than this." Later that night, I heard pounding at the door. I was staying with James, a buddy of mine since college, and we both looked up when the banging started. It was her, mascara running, hair wild, drenched from the rain. "Trevor!" she screamed. "What did you do?" I opened the door just enough for her to see my face, leveled my voice, and said, "I just finished what you started." Then I shut the door in her face. Her scream on the other side sounded like freedom. A few days passed. Then one last message. An email. "I miss you. Please, just one last talk. You deserve closure." I do too. And maybe I should have ignored it. But I didn't. I agreed to meet at a quiet cafe halfway between her place and mine. She showed up wearing this old gray sweater I'd bought her on our second anniversary. Like it was supposed to mean something. She looked like someone trying to look like she regretted it. Sat down across from me. Tried to smile. "I've been thinking about everything. About what I did. About us. I know I screwed up, Trevor. But I didn't stop loving you. I was just scared. Of getting old. Of missing out. Of feeling invisible." I let her talk. 15 minutes of rehearsed guilt. Rewritten history. Then she leaned forward, eyes watering. "Maybe we can start fresh. Forget the past. Rebuild what we lost." That's when I finally smiled. A real one. "No, Brooke. We can't rebuild something you bulldozed on purpose." She blinked. "You don't miss me. You miss the version of me that still loved you when you didn't deserve it." I stood, left a 20 on the table, walked away without looking back. And for the first time in almost a year, my chest felt light.